Is that recorded locally?
No.
Guess we'll find out. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to the HubSpot user groups. Today's event is taking HubSpot to the next level. We're thrilled to have you here. Today's agenda, really quick. We've got a little bit of housekeeping that Brandon and I are doing, and then we'll be jumping into our presentations. First up will be Jason, and then second up will be Ian. This is going to be some great information that we shared today, and then we'll have Q&A and wrap up towards the end. My name is Darren Burnson, but everybody knows me as Doc, and I am the owner of Burnco Media, as well as the co-leader of the Salt Lake City HubSpot user group.
My name is Brandon Carter. I am also co-leader, co-founder of the HubSpot user group. Proud to say, I think the oldest HubSpot user groups, and pre-COVID, I'm pretty sure we user group in the world, as recognized at Inbound 2017. We got front row seats for Michelle O. Pretty cool. I'm the marketing director at Promevo, and I'm also kind of an independent HubSpot consultant. Phrasing it that way kind of sounds like an independent, like Avon consultant or something like that, or Mary Kay. But I am a HubSpot contractor / freelance under the name of BS Carter Communications. So good to be here. Always back together and to be able to put good content in front of you. First speaker today will be Jason Zipro. He is a senior product manager at HubSpot. He is a local. He's been around for a while. And I first encountered Jason at grow.com, where he built a HubSpot integration. And it was a fantastic integration for like reporting and business intelligence, and still is. Like it really works. But it went so well that like HubSpot decided to bring him on board the mothership. So he's going to be in there, or he's going to be in here today talking about the buyer's journey, but also the buyer's journey tool, but also going through some report essentials, which is something that like is always a hot topic for this crowd and for me as well. Never can have enough good reporting. After him, we're going to bring on Ian Shields from EcoVadis. Ian, again, like those of you who have been around the user group, you know Ian. He's been, an important part of this community for going on like 8 years now, specific to the user group. He's worked with a handful of local companies, and if you're on LinkedIn frequently, like you've seen Ian joining webinars, sharing his own knowledge. Super sharp guy talking about, like attribution and UTMs and like MOPS and RevOps in general. So Ian has like a really cool workshop style presentation where he's going to walk you through literally like a checklist of things that should or ought to be doing within your HubSpot portal that just set it to work as like your proper go-to-market engine. So that's the agenda today.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Welcome, everybody. Whether it's your first time here or you've been to other HubSpot user groups with us in the past, we're thrilled to have you. Really appreciate you all taking time out of your day to join us. Hopefully next time we will be back in person. So thanks for joining us online today. Really quick, our 2023 goals for the Hub, now that we're finally back up and running, is frequency. So for sure, we're going to be at least having one event per quarter. And then, as always, these events are for you. We're not here to sell anybody whatsoever. This is strictly a learning environment. Also, as a side note, this event is being recorded. However, just take note that hopefully everything goes well with the recording. So do stick around today to watch the whole thing, just in case it does not record properly. We don't get it back up and online for you guys. So always recommend sticking around. All right, so Brandon, take this one away real quick.
Yeah, one quick note. We want to, this is our first meeting in a while. First off, we apologize for the late shift from in-person to online. We do want to be safe and not have people, driving across the valley or Utah if we don't have to. But we do have a full schedule of events in mind for this year. I want to make sure though that we're doing it at the right time, at the right location, and we're talking about so we'll send out this link again. We have a QR code because we anticipated being in person. but I will share out this link afterward to everyone that registered. But it's a pretty quick survey. We just want to know, like, where do you want to meet? Do you want to meet in Ogden? Do you want to meet in Lehigh? And, you know, like what day of the week? And in particular, I'm interested in what topics you're interested in. So it should take you about, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes to do that survey. If you want to jump on it right now, that's fine. But otherwise, I'll share it after. We'll put it in the Slack community and, you know, the other channels there.
And our next planned events are going to be on, so far, June 23rd, unless we get these surveys back to say, no, not on Wednesdays, but, or whatever day of the week these are. But June 23rd and September 22nd and December 1st, those are our planned dates. We might do some other offshoot events here and there, but those are the ones that we've got on tap. Places and times to be determined. So be sure to stay tuned for information about that as we roll it out.
Real fast. We had originally planned to host our event at Nozzle over in South Jordan, and they have been super gracious, you know, literally finding out last night that we were, you know, going to move it online. So we'd already kind of disrupted, you know, their Friday and their mode. We still want to make sure, like, they're probably going to host our next event, hopefully, but we still want to make sure that, like, they're part of the community and their contribution is acknowledged. So we at least wanted to make sure that you guys know about them and they get a chance to introduce themselves. So Boyd, if you want to introduce Nozzle for a second.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Boyd Norwood, VP of Marketing at Nozzle. Basically, we're a full SERP monitoring tool. So you put in 1,000 keywords and we can tell you anything about the SERP. You know, not only where your domain ranks, but where all your competitors rank, who's showing up in the featured snippets, who shows up in the top stories, the video packs, product packs, which questions show up and the people also ask, and who is in those questions. So anything about the SERP, like who owns the ads, like are your competitors bidding on branded term ads for your keywords? Anyway, we collect all the data from the whole SERP and you can analyze anything related to that. So that's what we do.
Right on. Thanks,
yes,
Boyd.
be sure to go check out Nozzle.io. Super cool.
Sure. All right. So let's do this. Let's get this thing going. We are ready to go. So let's go ahead and get our first presenter queued up and ready. Jason Zipro. He's a senior product manager at HubSpot. Jason, let's turn this over to you, shall we?
Yeah, thank you. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. So probably can. All right. So we'll just start off. So HubSpot, taking HubSpot reporting to the next level. So super excited to be here. Love the hug before. And now that I'm part of HubSpot, it's extra exciting for me. So just before I begin, this is what the legal team asks me to show. Just there are some things that I'm going to show that are in beta or in alpha states as part of my presentation. So just be aware that you shouldn't make purchasing decisions based on anything that I show you that's not technically in general release. So let's go quick overview of what I'm going to hit on really quick. So I'm going to do a quick intro. Brandon added a little bit about who I am. And then we'll jump into basically 5 different things. The customer journey analytics. So that is one of our new reports, report builders that is super powerful. If you've ever been frustrated with funnels, this is a game changer here. And then a couple of other things that we've just recently released, updates to the single report viewer, dashboard, a couple of updates to dashboard filtering. And I'm going to jump into some cool updates around goals, and then also ChatSpot. So AI is the buzzword of the year, it feels like. So we'll kind of jump into that as well. So starting off, I'm Jason Zipro. I'm currently a senior product manager at HubSpot. I am in part of what's called the Framework Data Group on the object search team. Basically what that is we are a purely back-end team that powers 98% of all of the reporting that happens across HubSpot. So there are a lot of front-end teams who are building out the different experiences across HubSpot, but my team powers the majority of those. And then previously I was at grow.com with Brandon, actually. So I was the head of product there. And Grow was basically a business intelligence and analytics platform. We sold to Epicor Software in March of last year. And then I helped with that transition. And then I moved to HubSpot in November of last year. And Grow was one of their top 30 marketplace apps. So pretty proud of the work that we did there. So let's just jump straight into it. So customer journey analytics. To kind of start off, for those of you who were at Inbound last September, customer journey analytics was kind of announced there and went into private beta. And then it was actually just earlier this month that it went into general release. And the idea behind customer journey analytics is the buyer's journey is pretty complex. And so the idea behind this new report builder is to get the buyer's journey all pieced together and allow you to kind of like slice and dice and really see what is happening with the customer journey. So those of you who, you're probably all familiar with funnels if you've been in HubSpot at all. And unlike funnels, funnels are mostly powered by properties on objects. And unlike that, the customer journey analytics is actually powered by events. So events basically capture those moments. So anytime a customer opens an email, views a web page, clicks a CTA, submits a form, schedules a sales call, all of those things, all those events, those moments are captured inside of HubSpot. And we use those to craft this customer journey. So let's just jump straight into the demo so I can kind of show you what this new builder looks like. And I'll also pause. My browser has crashed like 4 times today, so let's hope it doesn't do that during this presentation. My Chrome, for whatever, is being really finicky today. So let's come in here so you can kind of see this funnel report that I actually built with the customer journey analytics builder. And we'll jump into here and I'll just kind of start walking you through. So the customer journey analytics tool, this is the where you actually build out the funnels and these journeys. So here on the far left-hand side, you have all of these different events that I was talking about before. So lots and lots, including some of these custom events within this particular portal. Then you basically take these events and you craft your journey. So you can set up these different events in stages to craft this particular journey. So what I have here is pages visited, form submissions, opened emails, click links in email, market qualified lead, and opportunity. So we can see this particular funnel as it goes through. So one of the things that you've probably run into with the current funnel builder is that unless a contact has gone through every single stage, it doesn't show up later on down the road in this. So let's say if someone filled out a form submission, but didn't open an email and did become a marketing qualified lead, they would actually never show up here in this later stage. And that's like so what you're seeing here is not necessarily an incorrect picture, but maybe not the complete picture, let's say. So what we can do is we can actually here in the customer journey builder, and this is probably the biggest key differentiator between the funnel builder and customer journey analytics, is you can actually make steps optional. So I'm actually going to come in here and mark some of these stages as optional. And because of that, we're actually going to change to a new diagram called a sand key diagram, which allows you to see the flow of stuff going through. So you can kind of see here how everything shifts down through each of these stages. And it looks like we actually don't have anything that's shifting through from one stage to another, but I will show you that here in a minute. So the other thing here, you can name each of your stages. You can also, in each of these particular events, you can filter down. So right here, I am filtering by the very first stage here. I have a campaign called Big Data Demo. And I'm actually only wanting to look at the traffic that has come out of this Big Data Demo campaign page. So any of the campaign pages that have the URL path, which contains Big Data Demo, which is all of the pages, all the landing pages for this particular campaign, are being filtered right at this point. And I can set up those filters on any of these events. I'm not going to go jump into that for time, but you can set that up on all of these. So let me jump into one that kind of shows you a little bit more of this sand key diagram with these skip stages. So here you can see that I have something from stage 2, which is a form submission, and they went straight to an opportunity. They skipped these other 2 stages that I've actually already set up. And same right here. I've got this one right here. I can see open emails to opportunity. And again, I've filtered this down to just this particular campaign. And I can see that down here, some of my key analytics, before this, the cumulative conversion is the conversion across all of these events, only if they went through each and every single one of these stages. But now that I am allowing for these skip stages through these Sankey diagrams, I can actually see the total conversion at the end of this. So anyone who's gone through this first stage and ended up at the last stage, regardless of what steps they've come in between, here's that total conversion there. So this gives you a much more complete view of your funnel, of your journey that you've crafted here. Now, the other really cool thing, in addition to these optional steps, is I can kind of do a little bit of like A/B testing. So I'm actually going to jump in here and I'm going to add an additional stage in between to kind of see like an extra step and compare them against each other to kind of see which one is better. So I'm going to do contacts enrolled in a sequence. And I'm going to set that here between open emails. And this is probably not the best example, but this is an example that I have with data. This is our demo account. And then let's say I also want to see clicks linked in an email. I probably wouldn't be actually comparing these 2 things, but I might be comparing 2 different emails against each other. So I'm going to refresh this report now. So I'd normally be maybe checking 2 different emails against each other or something like that and see like which one converts better in this particular journey. So once this kind of calculates, it will actually branch this Sankey diagram, and I will be able to hover over and look at some of the key metrics for each of those. So yeah, here we go. So I can see here that I've got these two steps here in stage 4. And I immediately see that obviously this clicked emails is converting a whole lot more. So this is showing me 83, this is probably hard to see without zooming in, but this little hover card says 83% conversion rate from this step to the next one, and with an average of 2.9 days. And if I look at that compared to this step here, this one's only converting 21% with an average of 3.7 days. So really robust, essentially like A/B testing, kind of like a low-key version of A/B testing here, but really allows you to dig into the buyer's journey a lot more granular, with a lot more granularity. So those are a couple of like the really powerful functionalities with this new customer journey builder that you absolutely do not get with funnels. Now, just to kind of like walk you through a couple of other key things here, I've already walked you through the total conversions and cumulative conversions. You also get the average time for the entire journey. In this table below, you will see every particular permutation of steps and what the number of contacts are between each of those stages, the average time, and the conversion rate between each of those stages. So you get a lot of granular information, which is really fantastic. Additionally to this, you can set your date ranges up here. You can set up to a 2-year date range. Then you also have the ability to filter down by the types of contacts. So right now I'm just doing all contacts, but I can filter this down to a particular list that you've already prepared. And then also, if I want to just pick on certain properties and then filter down by a particular property. So a lot of power there to build out these customer buying journeys. And I think that's everything I had for this one. So I'm going to jump over now to our next one. Next thing that I really want to show you. But before I do, the customer journey analytics is available right now for any customers who are on Marketing Enterprise. So just as a caveat there, that is where that is available. So let me jump into Single Report Viewer. So Single Report Viewer is obviously available on all of the hubs at any stage. So let's jump into showing you. We've kind of cleaned up the design. So this is a really short and simple one that I want to show. So let me just I have a dashboard here. I'm going to dive into the single report viewer. You can kind of see if you've haven't jumped into this in a little bit that we've cleaned up the design a bit. You can also see that we've added a couple of helpful things like hover tooltips to give you the exact dates. You also have some more filtering options here. And then also here, you can toggle between the chart and table. So you don't actually have to dive into the customize this chart anymore to look at some of this information. And you can click on some of these to drill in. So some quick updates around the single report viewer that have just recently come out that are super helpful. The next thing too is dashboard filtering. So we're going to go back to that dashboard. For those of you who've done dashboard filtering in the past, you know that the filter dashboards has been pretty limited in terms of what you can actually filter on. And then in addition to that, when you did apply filters, if you had anything built from the custom report builder, those particular reports were sometimes not actually filtered. Just due to the complexity behind the scenes, we weren't able to actually filter those. So not anymore. So let's look at this. These dashboards now, we can come here to dashboard filters, and you can kind of see the little beta flag here. And you can see that dashboard filters have a lot more options now, down to like the data source if you have a lot more data sources based on what you've built out here on the reports. So let's actually filter. So deals closed, and let's just pick anything that is after March 1st. So anything this month. And there we go. We see everything kind of update in terms of their filtering. So all of the reports here, even though many of these are built with the custom report builder, are actually correctly filtering now. So that's a huge, simple, but huge win from the team that's doing that. All right, let's jump into goals. So goals are super powerful now. So we've had a lot of feedback around goals, and the team that's worked on this did a fantastic job. So there were three main things that they were really looking at with this last round that they were working on. So first is being able to define and measure your success of targets and KPIs at an individual and team level. So you can now do goals for teams, which is a huge win for the team. And then also being able to customize goals. So before you just had templated goals, we now have the ability to create purely custom goals. And then third thing, we've also integrated those custom goals into workflows, and you can actually create automations off of goals. So I'm going to jump over here into goals. So this is under reports into goals. And what you can do now is come here to create goal. And you have two options. So you can create from template or create from scratch. So just quickly showing you on the template side, category and the types that you have were pretty limited, but they are by far like the biggest use cases that we see, and it's makes it really easy to set up these goals. But now you can actually create them from scratch. So let's actually come in here and build one from scratch just to kind of show you like the robustness. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to create a goal that is called days to generate revenue, because we want to see that we are improving our time to closed deals rates. And I'm going to come in here and look at contacts is the object I'm going to look at. And the property is time between contact creation and deal closed. And I want to see the average across all of our contacts. And then I am going to measure this in days, since that's what I'm calling this, days to generate revenue. And for the date property, I'm going to do first deal created date. And then for tracking reasons, the lower this value, the better. So like if we are closing deals more quickly, so the lower that number is, the better that is. So you can see there's a lot of options here. And then I'm also going to add a filter. And let's say I want to just do for deals that were created this quarter. First deal created date is this quarter. I can filter that down. Great. So now I have this filter. This is on contacts, time between contact creation and deal closed, average number of days, and the date that I'm looking at is that first deal created date. And woof, this is a dummy account, so I'm glad that that's not our actual number. So let's actually jump over here. And here's where the next piece that I want to show you is you can actually now set this up for teams. So an entire team. So I'm going to use our Biglytics sales team here. And I'm going to show you how robust this is. So we have Biglytics sales team, and you have all of these. Actually, I wanted to set one thing up. Instead of monthly, let's do quarterly here, since that's what I'm actually doing my goal off of. So here we have the Biglytics sales team, number of days, and have each of the quarters. And I can apply a target here. Let's say I want to get mine down to 35 days as my sales cycle here, essentially. So 35 days. But we also set this as a team. So this is for the whole team, but I can still click this right here and get individual sales reps. So super nice where I can actually come in here and set specific targets for each of my sales reps. And they do not have to add up to the full sales team target. But I can come in here and customize each of the individual goals for each sales rep. So a lot of power there now. And then I can go through the rest of this process and set this up. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm going to actually jump over here to workflows and show you how you can actually use these goals now inside of your workflows. So I'm going to come here, and I've actually set a workflow up, but I will just create from scratch since we have a little bit of time. So I create from scratch, and I can come down here to this new goal-based workflow. And let's set up some triggers. So I'm going to say goal type and is any of, let's see, contacts first form submission. Let's also add where KPI value. So I'm just going to create some couple of filters here, apply that filter. And let's say our end date time is less than, say, 10 days. All right, so essentially, like, if we start seeing form submissions that are over 250 in the last 10 days, that's essentially telling me that, hey, all of a sudden we are getting higher than normal amount of form submissions, and we are going to have to adjust accordingly for the sales team. So when we start seeing that particular behavior, then we are going to kick off. Let's do an internal email notification, and we are going to send to the hub team. And it's like, let's say, influx in leads coming in. Congrats, buckle up. Team's gonna have to start really figuring out, like, oh, we got to jump on this. We got to be a little bit more. Other things can kind of get set aside. We need to really start getting on this because we're seeing an influx here. So super powerful. All of those custom goals that you can set up now are inside of these automations, and now adding teams to it as well adds a whole bunch of new dimensions to goals and making sure your automations really work for you. So that is goals. So super excited about all of that new stuff coming with goals. Okay, so last piece here. Let's talk about ChatSpot. So we've had a lot of stuff around AI, and ChatSpot is essentially HubSpot's very beginning alpha stage of incorporating ChatGPT along with your HubSpot CRM data and feeding your HubSpot CRM data into ChatSpot and combining that with the power of ChatGPT and other integrations to really empower essentially what we call Chat UX. So being able to chat into your CRM and get information out of it. So let's actually just jump in to our ChatSpot here. So I have ChatSpot connected to my Biglytics, which is our demo account. And let's start by asking a few things. So how about, let's get so we'd start with revenue. So report of monthly revenue in Q4. So like a lot of these language models, they do take a minute to think through a little bit. So there will be a little bit of pausing for some of these, but hopefully you'll kind of begin to see the power with it, despite some of the thinking time. Also, for any of you who know our CTO, Dharmesh, I'll tell you that in a minute. So yeah, so reported monthly revenue in Q4. So it actually went in. So report of deals. So it knew that it was the deal object, and looking at the deal amount there, totaled that amount, where created date is in Q4. And it looks here like they did get those dates correct. So this last Q4, grouped by month, and gave me the 3 months. So correctly got report of monthly revenue Q4, all without having to ever actually jump into the HubSpot UI. So super cool there. So let's actually look at another one. So who are our top 5 performing reps this month? So again, because we are using ChatGPT's language models and having fed it all of the information from the CRM, it is able to go in and crunch through your CRM data and come back with that information for you. Also, one of my favorite things are all of these little dad jokes here. If any of you know Dharmesh, our CTO, he is a huge fan of dad jokes. So here we actually see report of deals grouped by owner. And so let's also look at, let's ask some more questions around this. So send me this as an email on the last day of every month. So I can take this report and actually send it to me. Yep, I will send monthly emails for who are our top 5 performing reps this month. So let's say who are all of our top reps for this month? And what we can do is actually go into here and save this report into HubSpot on the dashboard. Like I said, this is still an alpha, so there is sometimes we run into little pieces, so hopefully this works. We'll give it a second to think through. Yeah, so now it gives me all of this. So I'm going to say save report as top sales reps this month on JSON Zipro demo dashboard. They should be going in, generating this without ever having to jump into the customer report builder, and it should give us a link to view this report. So let's actually go check it out. So yeah, here it is. So now I can save this, customize it if I want to, save it to a dashboard. So super powerful stuff you can do there. So let's kind of go over to, let's say you're now like doing some not so much reporting, but a little bit more prospecting to kind of get some more information here. Let's say find SaaS companies in Utah with over 50 employees. So ChatGPT obviously knows what a SaaS company is, what Utah is, and what employees are. And so this one doesn't necessarily use anything from HubSpot's the CRM, but it is using ChatGPT to go out and fetch you some information. So here's 622 companies in Utah with employees over 50 that are SaaS companies. So let's check out Bamboo HR. Let's do a little bit more here. So let's say show industry that Bamboo, if I can spell Bamboo right, bamboohr.com is in. And so this will kind of go in and do a little bit of a drill down on Bamboo HR. So, hey, look, company Bamboo HR gives me a little bit of description, how many employees, here's their LinkedIn account, here's the industries they're in, their location, and I can actually add this to HubSpot as a new company that I want to start like marketing to or like start reaching out to. I can also do some of my keyword research here. So paid keyword lists, like what are the paid keywords that Bamboo HR is paying for here. So it's kind of, this one's a HRIS. I can click this and actually it'll take me to the page that this is actually ranking for that particular keyword. You can also look at the organic keywords here. And yeah, so now say I've gone through a little bit more and I've done some research here and I want to add the contact, Danny 72. Let's say I've finally found someone who has their, someone from Bamboo HR that I want to reach out to. So bamboohr.com, Danny Loveland. And then I'm going to just steal. Let's actually dive into this one. Actually, where was their address? I saw their address. Yeah, there it is. So I'm going to steal that address, put it into here. And then I'll say follow up in 5 days. So, oh, and here's where I run into an issue. I think maybe I didn't put the full street address. That might be why. Let's try that really quick. Let's see if I've got an address just hanging around here. 560 West. Let's see if that works. It was working for me earlier. So like I said, alpha. So please play around with it. Like you'll definitely see what you can and can't do use that still. But let's try one more thing and then we'll call it a day of web visits for last year. So let's, I wonder if it's my internet here. Let's just refresh. So show monthly summary of web visits for last year. Yeah, well, that's a great note to end on. So usually what it'll show is the actual information here. Let me actually pull this out. And you can actually view this as a bar chart and then actually build it again onto your dashboard, which I was going to show you here. But it does look like our CTO Dharmesh is the one who, this is his brainchild. He's building it all the time. And it does look like he's probably deploying something and he's broken it here on the side, but we'll end there. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Dude, that was wild. That is super cool.
It's got a lot
I thought it was I haven't really played with it a whole lot, but my impression is it was like a content generation tool. I didn't know you could go in and put in like a plain language type request like that and have it, generate a report.
Yeah,
that is super neat.
Yeah, it can do all sorts of things. So like, because it's combined with your CRM data, you can even say, hey, write a follow-up email to Brandon Carter. And then it will generate an email for you. Obviously, you'll probably want to tweak it here and there, but then you can just like copy that text and throw it in and throw it into a sequence or something like that. Or like, I didn't even show you some of like, hey, write a blog post on AI generation and Instagram, and it'll kind of like write out a blog post for you. It does also image generation that it pulls as well. So you can like combine that with, so there's a lot of stuff that you can do there. It is super early alpha stage. Dharmesh though is working on it full time every single day and is just adding more and more functionality as we go every single day. So it is free for anyone to sign up. Just go sign up. You can connect it to your portal and just start playing around with it. Dharmesh does read all of the feedback that comes into that on a daily basis. So if you want to see some more cool things, right now is the time to like really help shape the path of ChatSpot. So it'll be really cool.
I love it. Thank you. Thanks for going through that. It sounds like, obviously it feels like the entire universe right now is moving in the direction of AI, and some of the tools are pretty cool. But yeah, like I imagine most of the people in this meeting are probably to one extent or another living in HubSpot every day and figure out how to do things. And so like, being able to eventually have a tool like this that can just, take a plain language, when the salesperson asks for, show me rep productivity or whatever, instead of like hunting through the analytics tools to try to find that, to be able to just say, you show me chat. And I noticed, speaking of Dharmesh spent, what did he say, 8 digits on chat.com. So yeah,
Yeah.
clearly HubSpot is heading in this direction. Super neat.
Yeah. Cool. Thank
Well,
you.
before we bring Ian on, we did have a few questions that came in specific to some of the stuff you talked about. I wanted to go through those. Doc, did you have anything that you wanted to throw in before we jump into some questions?
No, go for it.
Cool.
So I the first couple are mine. I'm curious about the buyer's journey tool. Is it, how does it interact with like custom life cycles? Like does it sort of require HubSpot's baked in, or like will adding in custom life cycle stages like outsmart it, or does it just adapt to whatever's in that field, for example, like whatever your inputs are?
Yeah, so you can create custom events. Whether or like how that actually ties back to object properties and changes in object properties, I'll have to go and check because I'm not entirely familiar with that, like how much that changes. But yeah,
Right. Well, sorry, I meant specifically the life cycles, not the custom events, but like if I add in, let's just say in between,
yeah,
I don't know, after customer, I add in like churned customer,
yes,
like as a life cycle, will it adapt with those?
yeah. So that's the part where, sorry, I wasn't explaining my answer very clearly. So all of those life cycle events are properties on the contact object.
Okay.
And so when those properties change from one state to the next, I'm not sure if we actually capture those as events as well in the HubSpot backend system, or if it's only custom events. So that's the part where I'm not entirely sure, because we do have like the properties of like became marketing qualified lead. So some of those baked in lifecycle stages have a property that's associated with those, like the time that it switched, right? And those I know we also capture as events. And that's what we can use to create those, because you saw the life cycle stages, like the baked in ones. So I know that at least for those ones, we're capturing those as events. So I'm not sure about like the custom lifecycle stage properties and the changes on those, if those are also getting ported over as events, because that's what it all runs off of.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the next question, I mean, in general, like try to keep HubSpot. I think one of the takeaways there is like try to stick with HubSpot's baked in life cycle stages as much as possible. Like, you know, that's really like the spinal system, the nerve system of HubSpot. Like, you know, try to make what you do work within that, I think is what I've learned over the years repeatedly, the hard way. All right. So another question that I had on it is, like, does it have the same portability as the other reports? Like, can I set up a recurring email? Can I embed it in a dashboard? Can it like be embedded, or can I generate a PDF? Like, does it have those same functions?
As far as I'm aware, I haven't tried all of those, but yes, like I know it can go on dashboards. I do know that you can share to Slack and email it. So I'm just like looking at it really quick. Yeah, so you can do those, you can export them. So it should have all of those same functionalities.
Love it. Fabulous. We got one from Ian. He said he's not used goals in HubSpot before. Is that a standalone object? And can we create goals for data in custom objects?
Oh, that's a good question. Goals is one that I'm not super familiar with. Like I knew enough research to kind of like show here, but diving in that deep, I'm not entirely sure. I can find out though, Ian, and get back to you. That's a good question. Yeah, goals is not something I'm as familiar with.
Totally cool. And final question on this round, John, I think you might have had this one answered in the chat already, but he asked if we can use goals for life cycle stages.
Yeah,
I guess like maybe an example would be like, you know, generate X amount of MQLs, you know, per month.
I believe so. I'm just jumping in here really quick to kind of see contact life cycle. It doesn't look like you can actually with life cycle stages. Not entirely sure why though. So it looks like not yet. I'm sure though they'll be adding that.
Well, we're talking to the right guy to get it added to the roadmap. So there you go. Add it to the list. Thanks for the questions, everybody. Are there any more questions for Jason? I think maybe if we have time toward the end of Ian's, or after Ian's presentation and those questions, we can open up the floor again. But any other questions for Jason before we drag Ian up on the stage?
Jonathan had just a follow-up question about the AI tool, wondering what the future plans were, any insight into what the full direction is going to end up being.
Yeah, right now it is pretty wide open. Dharmesh, like I said, it's kind of like his little baby, and we are looking at. It's kind of, you'll notice how it's standalone. ChatSpot.ai, it's its own URL. So it is something that we're looking at in terms of how eventually, and if eventually, it will be integrated into the full HubSpot stack of technologies. Right now, though, it's pretty wide open, and I don't think there is like a very specific strategic direction that's like codified yet for it. It's really just like, hey, what can we do with it? And let's just keep exploring it and see the kind of feedback that we get from people to help shape that direction. So it's one of the things I love about HubSpot. They're just like, let's put something out there, let's test it out, and as we get feedback, we'll iterate on it and figure out where it needs to go. So
sounds good. Well, if anybody's got more questions, submit them and we'll get to those at the end, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, Ian. Let's bring him in.
Stepping on up here. Jason, that was really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to go play with that right now. I'll be back. I'll see you guys later.
No, you have to pay attention to Ian.
Oh, you don't have to pay attention. That's all right. That's all right. All right, everyone. So we're going to go through this today. I plan on doing this more of like a workshop because we're going to meet in person. So had to change up a few things here as we go through. Really just want to focus in on maximizing your HubSpot as your go-to-market engine. A little bit about me. I'm the director of marketing operations, demand generation at EcoVadis. They are the leading platform for global supply chain, environmental, social, and ethical performance ratings. Been doing marketing ops, demand generation for a little over 12 years now. With the workshop today, just to give you a sense of like where I'm trying to focus here is, if you've done HubSpot Academy, we're going to go a little past that. We're going to go beyond it. But no doubt, every business is different. You have your custom automations and how you do campaign execution. We're not going to go too far into that. We're looking for efficiency here. So, let's help each other think about sustainable growth given current economic conditions. As we go through this, what areas I want you to kind of think of as like how you can be bigger, better, faster, stronger with your HubSpot instance. Okay. So this is our method. All right. So we have about 40 minutes to go through 25 sections. Each section has at least one question. Some sections have 2 or 3. If you have a clarifying question, because it's not clear, we can sort it out. We'll have you jump in the Q&A and ask there. So I'll pause and just double check. But sadly, we don't have time to nerd out and dive into details and nuance today. So in the general chat, if you want me to pause and be like, hey, do you got a cool story around this? I can pause. I can share a quick story in like no more than 5 minutes. Okay, after we've answered all the questions, we're going to tally our score, and each section is worth 1 point. What I'm going to drop into the general chat here is for you to get your own efficiency scorecard. It's a Google slide, make a copy. As you go along, you'll see an answer sheet. Just delete if you said yes, or if you said no, or I don't know. So you have the right answer for each one. And as you go along, if you get all yeses, cool, 25 points, you're good. And where does this come from? Like, as you go get your scorecard, let me just try and give you a sense of context here is, so my neighbor, he wanted to finish his basement, make a larger space for his growing family. It's got like 1,000+ square foot basement. And he planned to frame the basement himself to save some money. So I gave him some of my tools that he could borrow. I had a square, chalk line, laser square, 2 4-foot levels, an air nailer, cordless circular saw with like about a 40-tooth blade, brand new one. It took him about 5 days to finish his framing the basement. So after you frame the basement, he then hired tradespeople to come in. They put in the ductwork, they put in the electrical, they put in the plumbing. No problems. Well, the drywallers that he had, they came in, they put up the drywall. It took them longer than usual, and that's because a lot of their cuts that they had to do were custom cut. You know, it wasn't like Tetris where it just dropped in. If it was all square, they had to do custom cuts. So it took them more time, more money to the drywall, the mudding. Things didn't always like fit in place. Well, they also then installed all the doors, and because his walls weren't square and a little bowed, it required a little extra oomph to like open and close some of those doors. You know, when it was all said and done, yeah, his basement was finished. It looks good. But when he returned my tools, he reluctantly admitted me that he didn't use the square, the levels, just straighten the wall. So just a reminder, it's important to take the time to do some of these basic principles and other things really well now so that they're scalable and help you with your growth in the future. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. All right. So, number 1, not overwritten. There are critical property values that you want to protect. Standard and custom. Think of these as lead source, original lead source. If you have product values that you're bringing in, you want to make sure that those don't get changed or overwritten. So do you protect them? Okay. Cool. So in your scorecard, if you say yes, just delete the rest of it. If you say no, delete the other ones. If you don't know, that's completely fine too. That's a good answer. Okay, moving on. Standardization. Do you maintain simple standards for properties, property values, and reporting filters? I'll give you a quick story on this as you think on your answer. Working in organizations where their life cycle stages are determined by a combination of filters. So all of a sudden, if we're talking about MQLs, we understand the definition, but because marketing has 6 filters and sales ops has 10 filters and then rev ops has 2 filters, our reporting never matches up. And then that quick discussion can turn into months of extra work just to get the right filters. It's better if you find a way to standardize that. Okay. Moving on. Data dictionary. Not sure if everyone here is familiar with the data dictionary. Collection of metadata such as field name, data type, the object it lives on, definitions, relationships, and mappings. So it should be your reference guide. If you have a data dictionary, fantastic. Cool. Moving on. Dedupe. Do you identify and automatically merge contact and account records? I just want to point out this is a high-risk project depending on your data architecture and sometimes requires some custom automation or a different tool. Okay. Number 5, unchecked opt in. So do you have an unchecked opt-in box on your website forms? When a visitor comes to your site, they fill out a contact us form. At the bottom, it says, do you opt in? You want to make sure you have a clear statement there also that links to your privacy policy. And that's the best practice. I have come across some different websites that requires me to check that opt-in box to submit the form. And at those points, yes, I will gladly check the opt-in box, and the email address I put in there is dumpsterfire@yahoo.com. It's not a best practice. Okay, so the other one I'm going to add in here is, do you have an opt-in date property? So you know when that person has opted in. Okay, so all those questions, this one did have 4. If on this, for example, you have one no or an I don't know, then the accumulation is no or I don't know. Don't get a yes. It's got to be all or nothing. Moving on, number 6, if you do double opt-in due to compliance or email deliverability, do you have a double opt-in date property? So you know when that person double opted in. HubSpot does double opt-in with the checkbox, but the date I found to be very valuable. Okay, and make sure you're aligned with your legal team. If both of those are yes, great. Number 6 is a yes for you, 1 point. Number 7, do you strain out junk, spam, and unethical emails? Okay, 1, do you use an email verification service? 2 examples here, Kickbox or Never Bounce. You also want to know where your junk or spam contact records are coming from. So is it from an event or a specific vendor or a purchase list? If you can find that offender, it makes it easier to clean things up. And the last one, do you have a process to filter out that junk, spam, or bad stuff before importing them into your CRM? One quick story I'll just share here. Recently happened to me is one of the sales team lead messaged me saying, hey, we got a lead that we're following up with, and the lead is a Gmail, but the website sent the sales rep, unbeknownst to them, to a pornography site. My heart sinks because I can't imagine the discomfort and stress that can cause a person as thinking an SDR in an office, sharing a space and then being thrown to that site. I follow up that SDR is doing okay, but we made adjustments to our filters to make sure that if we suspect that it's going to be an unethical company that we're not ever going to work with, we want to filter those out, and we will exclude them from our reporting and from our CRM. Okay. Moving on. Do you identify soft bounce emails? Okay. The main question here is just know email bounce type and how HubSpot categorizes them. Okay. Do you know? You feel knowledgeable? Awesome. Great. Say yes. If you kind of maybe need to update a refresher, I have a link here to this article. Okay. Just gonna pause for a second. Brandon's got a question. Oh, I kind of went past that one. Sorry, Brandon. Just looking at the question here, is an opt-in box on forms required? No, it's not required. It is a best practice. Okay. Even if you're not marketing to GDPR countries, California has a Privacy Act, Canada's Privacy Act, and others. It's just, it shows that you are thinking of customer value first and respecting their preferences. And like the story I shared, if you're going to force me to opt in to fill out the form, I'll gladly give you a junk email or trash email. Okay. Good question, Brandon. All right. Going to carry on here. Date unsubscribed. HubSpot does track with a checkbox that someone has unsubscribed. It is really important and valuable to know when someone unsubscribed. This is number 10, because you want to see at what point in the journey that they did that action. And the number 11 here goes with this. Do you have an unsubscribe reason? Right, this is a text data type, so you know why someone unsubscribed, and you want to take the other field I talked about, that unsubscribe date, and this one, and associate them, make sure that those are always in sync together. Okay, date timestamp for each lifecycle stage. Yes, for HubSpot lifecycles, they already have became blank date field. If you do a custom lifecycle stage, then you want to make sure that you have a date time property, and then you need to put in the automation to stamp that when a contact, or if you also need to do that for a company takes the next step in their journey. Non-success stages. So you want to make sure they have clear names and dependent date time properties that can let you track when a contact or company is not actively moving forward and is not likely to become a client. So that could be like a disqualified stage, a nurturing stage, a recycle stage, a rejected stage, whatever language you want to use. Using just an other bucket is not clearly enough defined for me. Other sometimes feels like the junk drawer in my house. I'm really not sure what's in there. So make sure that you put in some non-success stages for contacts and for companies. All right, number 14, make sure to separate your contact stages from statuses. When you have your current setup, a lot of people I do see that they'll blend, they'll mix or mash contact stages with contact statuses. What this will look like is you could have a contact stage of marketing qualified lead, and then the next one is working, not connected, which is meant to indicate the relationship that sales has with that contact and they're following up, or they've connected or meeting, and then it's a sales qualified lead, right? That's when you see it kind of like get this mix or blend. Separate those out. It's important because the stage should be where the contact stands in their journey, but the status that is that relationship between the sales rep and the contact. Hopefully that's clear. Can HubSpot do a post unsubscribe survey? If someone has unsubscribed, then they have opted out of marketing emails. If you set up that as a transactional email, you gotta just be careful with that. But in general, doing a post unsubscribe survey, no, that person is opted out. You can still include them in retargeting campaigns or others.
I was thinking more in terms of
like when you opt out through like Constant Contact or some of those other, it automatically takes you to like, why did you unsubscribe? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like it might be. But yeah, like it automatically redirects you survey. It might be a question for the crowd here. Like, can you code such a thing in? I don't know. I'm curious how to acquire what's the better process to acquiring an unsubscribe reason? Like, give someone the opportunity to tell you, like, you email me too much. I never gave you my information. I'm not interested in your stuff anymore. Just, those kind of things.
You can do it in good question. Good clarifying. You can do that on a preference center landing page, right? Someone says, I want to unsubscribe, pop up the question, what's your reason? And you can just leave it blank, or you can do a drop down select. Either way, how I typically use the unsubscribe reason is I'll try to grab the email, or I'll know it's from a preference center, or if they did it because I've integrated my app data into HubSpot into a custom object and they unsubscribe through my app, I'll grab that. And so that ends up being my reason. So at least I get a sense of like where and how they're doing it.
It's an interesting approach. It's an interesting, like, maybe HubSpot marketplace type tool or something that, a developer could build that, when someone hits that unsubscribe, like they hit it in their email, they're gone. It takes them maybe to a confirmation page and it automatically populates that. Just like one last little attempt to get, their words before the email tie is severed forever.
Right. Davey. All right. Life cycle stage.
Davey, I might have you, might have Davey come. Well, Davey says that there is a custom unsubscribe page with questions on a forum. Davey might have you share that here in a minute, bring you up on stage and have you talk about it, because it makes sense, but I've never tried it, but I like the idea. Sorry, Davey. And Davey had another question in there about life cycle stages.
Yeah. Life cycle stages. Yeah. Talking about life cycle stages that you use for your contacts.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Cool.
I can go back into hiding mode if I can find the button here. Sorry to interrupt, Ian. Thank you.
No, this is good. Thanks for jumping on. I can always slow down a little bit if you want some more details. Okay, cool. 15, UTM framework. Does how you track your links inform your go-to-market strategy? You just want to make sure that you are clear and intentional. Yes, HubSpot does have UTM framework out of the box. It is broad, and I do my own custom one for UTM framework. I think there is a need for stronger standards. If you get that UTM framework down, that is the basis of having more story elements that you can use when talking about marketing attribution. Okay, and you also want to make sure that your UTM framework informs your campaign effectiveness. All right. Cool. Gonna carry on here. Do you categorize your sources? Okay. HubSpot does have drill down 1 and 2 for contact and deal source properties. Those are typically more driven by online activities. So if you do more events or road shows and things, make sure that you include those into how you categorize your sources. Okay. That way it's scale more robust, and you're including offline activities, sales, alliances, partnerships, referrals, and more, along with your typical online and inbound activities. All right. No questions there. Make sure that you do align your contact and deal sources. There are some default properties there you can use. If you have your own custom ones, make sure that those are aligned. So that reporting that we saw earlier was really cool. So I'm curious to see how those show up in reporting. Okay. Ooh. How did you hear about us? So do you have a required open text question in your contact us form saying, how did you hear about us? At the bottom, make it required so that people can type in and share their story. And then from that, you can do some a quick automation to categorize it, making it more standard and reportable. That way you can compare what you're seeing from UTM parameters and sources and put it together. And I think you'd be surprised how many people that may come from organic or paid search are actually more word of mouth or from relationships that people have with other people at your company. Met them at an event, they're talking shop, met them at a coffee shop, whatever. I've found a lot of insights and interest in this. It is a scary thing, I'll say, for a lot of organizations because like, wow, open text, like that's a mess. Like I don't want to do that, and they get scared. But I think it's a good thing to adopt and to embrace. Carrying on, deal win-loss. There are quite a few fields that HubSpot provides for when you lose a deal, but you want to make sure that you also have a deal property for closed loss reason category, right? So if you do capture the reason and it gives you a larger story, make sure that you can also categorize it in a way that will inform your product marketing team, your product team saying, okay, we're seeing these ratios. So many people are doing it because a competitor, or maybe they're looking for a certain function. Oh, it's this function. Then you can dive into some of the reason that you have and some of the details and get some nuance there. Ooh, Brandon. I guess I gotta roll back. I gotta go slow down a little bit here. Sorry. Do you task salespeople with asking the question? You can have salespeople ask the question. It's going to come with a lot of bias because of the relationship and perceptions that that prospect has with the sales rep. The data won't be as good and the stories aren't as interesting and detailed. So you can start there with having the sales reps ask, how'd you hear about us? And typically sales reps will type in a summary or a few words, but maybe that isn't the true answer or the full and complete answer. It's a lot, it's scale, and that one doesn't scale at all. Sales reps forget, they might just fill it in, and you don't want to make it a required field for sales reps because you don't want to add another hoop that they have to jump through. All right, good questions. I'll pause for a second, get a drink, we'll carry on here. All right. Number 20, CRM integration. All right, this one I know is going to get interesting. Okay. When you get a new contact in your HubSpot instance, do you intentionally put them through a series of sequence steps that will gather their lead source, enhance the data, make sure it doesn't hard bounce, and then stream the contact record with all that required data? I mean, if you're still in HubSpot with your CRM, great. I'm thinking if you have Salesforce and you need to stream that over, make sure like you have all the data first, scored, completed, and then send it to Salesforce. Or instead, do you bounce partial snapshots of that contact record? Contact was created, great, send it to Salesforce. Oh, well, you do have some data enhancement. Now update it again. Oh, well, the email that you auto sent hard bounce. Make sure that goes to Salesforce. We're going to now change the stage and send to Salesforce. And you end up bouncing and burning through API calls, and it's just not efficient. If you optimize your data pipeline connecting HubSpot and your CRM, you're going to improve your speed and data costs, make those data costs less on you. And with this, the second question is, third one is, do you have redundancy built in to that integration if something doesn't sync? So if you do this full process, you know, okay, no matter what, I know a contact record with all this required information is now in Salesforce. Is that 5 minutes? Is that 10 minutes? And then do you have some redundancy, a backup that says, if it's not there in 15 minutes, can you check, or can you make another action, or can you just push that record over? Okay. Moving on here. Oh, I'm going to pause 1 second. Does anyone have any questions around this, around CRM integration? Like, is it not? Hopefully that's clear. This isn't a tricky one. Cool. I don't see any Q&A. We're going to keep going here then. Unless Brandon's still typing. All right. 5 more. Here we go. Data management. And hinted at that with question number 20. You want to have a clear order of operations for lead processing. Do you have it? If yes, awesome. If no, or you don't know, do you have new contractors going through these 7 steps when they come in? Create. You're going to filter. You're going to exclude them from marketing, reporting, and scoring for because it's junk, it's bad data. I got an email that says dumpsterfire@yahoo.com. Whatever that is, you can exclude that from reporting and scoring. Do you then gather, categorize UTMs, sources? How did you hear about us? If you have a data enhancement vendor, ZoomInfo, Apollo.io, Seamless AI, whatever, is that put in? Do you standardize to improve data quality, establish consistency, and then date stamp that lead process is complete and you don't want to repeat it? If this person comes in and fills out a resource form, they'll go through this, but then they consume that resource and like, wow, this is really cool. They fill out a demo request. You don't want them to go through this again. So that's the point. I have a date stamp for lead process. And then this is your only point that you then sync that contact to Salesforce because you know that they have gone through this process. All right. Hopefully y'all are hanging out. A few more here. Here we go. Do you identify cohorts with smart lists, dynamic lists that should be excluded from marketing reported and not assigned to sales reps? This is a list. By no means is it complete, but think of marketing tests, team members, your partners, customers, competitors, unethical organizations, sanctioned countries that you should not be doing business with, Russia and others, media, investors, and your executive board. Makes a lot of some of your marketing reporting messy if you can identify those and then not include them in your reporting and not assign them to sales reps. That's better. I got a funny story around this one I'll share with y'all. I was doing, early in my career, I was doing a test of landing page form processes, and I didn't at that time have a way to exclude these. So typed in this email, it went through for a contact request from my company. I was like, this is cool, this is great. And that same day, my VP of marketing comes over and he was pumped. He was so excited that Mario at Nintendo had filled out a contact request. He was so pumped. And in my head, I'm like, oh, that's the test I did. I was like, oh, well, to me, it was like I knew Mario as a character for Nintendo games, but my boss hadn't played video games growing up. And so that contact, he was like, oh man, Nintendo, they were so pumped. Him and even the SDR that got it was like, yeah, this looks cool. I had to tell him and that Mario at Nintendo was a test. Kind of informed how I need to change my testing processes. Ooh, Brandon question. Here we go. What's the equivalent of this for those using only HubSpot CRM? These processes run before a lead is assigned. Yes. So talking about this, before a lead is assigned, you want to make sure that you can give as much information and complete before you route and assign to the sales rep. And I'll give you an example on this. If you are you're doing scoring and you have a custom field that lets your sales determine the priority of a lead. So if you're saying it's like priority 1, someone fills out a contact or demo request, the associated SLA could be you need to follow up within 15 minutes. Okay. For a priority 2 lead that's scored highly, you can say, hey, in the next 1 to 2 days, reach out, follow up, because they're downloading content and they're our ideal customer profile in a target account. And then you could even have like a priority 3 saying, this person is consuming content, they're not in a target account, job title is not right, but if you'd please follow up like in the next 5 to 7 days, because then the sales rep can manage their load and expectations. So with priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, all those are dependent on scores. But if you're not clear on when that happens in your process, someone could jump from a P2 when the sales rep sees it and like, nah, I got a day or two, like I'm not gonna worry about it, to all of a sudden jumping to a P1, unbeknownst to them. They're like, oh, shoot, okay, like it changes. Maybe they don't follow up, they're out of town, a few weeks later, you have automation that like decreases that because you don't protect that field, you don't have it secured. And now they're like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about follow-up because they're now at P3. All of a sudden, like it just jumps around. It makes it really hard for sales reps in that situation. So make sure that you have all the data that the sales rep is going to need to have a good conversation.
I love that. Jumping in as a presenter here just to provide some clarification if I could. But
Yeah,
initially,
please.
when I saw the slide, I thought the goal was to like preserve API calls or something between HubSpot and Salesforce, but it's really about like making sure that you have the most complete picture possible before the system or your users, your salespeople, support, whatever, before they're asked to take action. So it's really just like getting the best data, the most complete picture in front of someone before you start throwing tasks at them. I love that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, jump in, add some clarification. This is me just talking, and yeah, because one of my sales leads is like, oh, you're Aquarius, aren't you? I was like, yeah. I was like, your brain works a little different. I was like, yes, it does. Yes, it does. So, Brandon, hang out, jump in. We'll add some clarifications. All right. Talked about data management, cohorts. 23. Do you standardize campaign workflow naming conventions? Or are, if they're random, Yes. Ooh, that's not good. Makes it hard. So you want to make sure your campaign names are clear, transparent, and makes them discoverable and easily to understand, right? Discoverable in HubSpot, in your CRM, if that is HubSpot, fantastic. If it's Salesforce with campaigns, great, but also in your project management tool, if you're using Monday.com or Asana or other things, use that same naming convention for the campaign in your project management. Just making things a lot easier there. Yes, no on this is a little confusing. I should have wrote this one a little bit better. Let's just be transparent about it. So if your campaign and workflow names are not random, perfect. That's good. We're gonna say that's yes. A funny example is this, working at a company where, which was like healthcare benefits. And so we had internal research paper, we had webinar, we had events, and other tactics that we were doing. And all of a sudden, a lot of our campaigns were like year, month, activity, and then our 3-word summary was like improve your benefits. I was like, man, I can't imagine having a random naming convention, because even with that, it was really tricky to be like, okay, which campaign are we talking about here? Because just in those naming conventions, it can get really confusing really fast if you don't have a naming convention for your campaigns and for your workflows. '24, campaign member engagement. Are your campaign member statuses standardized? In Salesforce, if you create a campaign out of the box, it's like sent and responded, and they're not clear. If you're using that and people look at a webinar campaign and they say, well, it's sent and responded, it's not, doesn't make sense. Or if you're using a direct mailer and you have sent and responded, it doesn't mean anything because it's just so ambiguous. So you want to make sure that you're clear with your campaign member statuses and what a proper response is. With a proper response, this is what I mean is if you have an email campaign and someone opens the email and you say that's success, I would strongly disagree with you. That is not success. If you have a webinar campaign and someone registered but they didn't show up, that's not a proper like response and engagement with the campaign, and that's not success. And in those situations, I take that campaign member status. If someone registered and no showed, I will show that in attribution reporting, but I will not say that if someone opened an email that that's the source for a new deal. I'm just waiting for Brandon to come on because I know this one, everyone's got a different point of view on this one. Brandon's not coming. That's all right. Okay, last question. Consolidate forms. Do you consolidate all your content asset forms into one or a few? If you do one form for every content piece you have, and then you need to make an update, that is really hard. You can consolidate your forms and through a hidden field, associate that content piece to a Salesforce campaign or to route it to different tags. So you want to make sure you have consolidated forms in HubSpot. Hopefully you have like less than 10, because if you need to make a change or an update and you have more than 10 forms, it's going to take you a while. If you have hundreds of forms, you're going to be there for a very long time. All right. That's the last one. Now, we're going to get your scores together. Take this one looks a little different. The one I shared with everybody, make sure that you've marked out all yeses for every yes that you got in each section, total number, and it'll be out of 25. So I am curious. You can drop it in the general. I'm curious what you guys got for scores. Hopefully you're not embarrassed, right? I don't think it's a bad thing to say like, hey, we got less than 20 out of 25. I think that's totally fine. Anyone willing to share their score? 20. Nice.
So
Thanks, Davey.
I'll jump in here. Maybe it's embarrassing as a hug leader, but I'm like a 16.
I don't think that's bad. I think 16 is good.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, but some of the, I'm not going to go into detail, but some of the ones that I don't get points for would be like shame.
Why is it shame? I don't think it's something that you should be ashamed about, right? A lot of these are things that, like I said, this isn't covered in HubSpot Academy.
Right. Yeah.
And we just came from a decade of growth at all costs. And so many of us, we were just going from campaign to campaign to campaign. It's like, oh, if that doesn't work, that's fine. Like, just put more ad dollars in. Like, we'll put more money into it and push and go. This is a change in focus for a lot of us, because this is more towards sustainable growth and putting in place pieces that will help you maintain cleanliness and be able to go further. So,
well, some of mine are like I don't do a whole lot to strain out leads as they come in. Like, salespeople, they want to be busy. They want to have a bunch of stuff to do. And so I'm like, fine, here come the leads. If it's a bad one, you let me know. But in the meantime, you want to stay busy, then here you go. So I don't, it's kind of me deferring to, all right, if they want something to do. And I want to give every lead that I have, as someone who lives on the marketing side, I want every lead that I generate to have a fighting shot to turn into pipeline. And so I don't know, it's kind of a preference where I make them tell me, you tell me if this is a bad lead or if it's, dramatically outside of our ICP enough to where, we need to filter it out. Now, sometimes there are obvious ones, like I want to offer your company janitorial services. Like, all right, I need to figure out a way to like head those off. But by and large, like for example, that's one where I could do a little bit more, but I also, I want my salespeople to at least like, I don't know, see me in their inbox, that notification in their inbox a couple times a day, ideally.
Yeah, for sure. Robin, thanks for sharing your score. Right, 18. And I did run out of time on going into this in each section. Some of these things that for all these 25, if you pass, you got a yes, that's awesome. That's 18 greens. Like, look how far and how much you have covered. And I think I'd be happy and proud for just any of that. Some of these things are not urgent, depending on the business goals and your marketing team goals, right? If you don't have product marketers focused on deal loss, okay, don't worry about it. It's not urgent. Okay, this is similar to if you just think of like maintenance engine with your car. Yeah, my check oil light just came on. Well, it's not urgent that I got to pull off and go get my oil changed. Yeah, I'll do that in like the next few days or a few weeks when I get time. And then I also things that I do have noted on here is just technical notes, like how you would implement these or create these, some recommendations, and like you also, this is a lot of things that we've talked about will work if you do have consistency and frequency in going in. So you have to build that operational rigor within your organization and your team. And that's hard because for such a long time, we've all been rushing from campaign to campaign to campaign. and we haven't given space to say, was that campaign effective? Oh, I don't know. We just got to do the next webinar. Oh, well, did that event go well? I don't know. We did that one. We have 10 more this month that we got to go to. So putting those components in, I think will help everybody. So don't feel like all 25 are urgent. And then some of these things probably they aren't. Okay. All right, that's it for me.
Awesome.
Should we bring back Jason and see if we've got any additional questions? Ian, I'm just curious, based on your deck, well, two things. One, will we have your full deck to share with everybody as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. And then also, I mean, at the end of the day, like who is that for? I mean, it seems like a lot for, like, say, a smaller company to implement with maybe like a one-man band, two-man band. I mean, like, at what point is it so wow, whatever that was, important to start implementing some of that stuff?
Yeah, those are pieces I need to put in each section and for people to determine themselves. The ones I think are most urgent is like, I would say your dedupe, your opt-in, and then your cohorts and filters. Because it's just amazing if you just say, all right, we're going to put in a filter so junk that comes into our system isn't going to go into reporting and to sales. Because if you do that, that'll scale and grow with you. And all of a sudden you're reporting, you're like, wow, our conversion rate from an MQL to an opportunity just improved 2 to 3%. What'd you do? I filtered out junk. Oh, that's cool. So small wins.
Yes, David, I think there is a ghost. Did anybody see anybody like actually push the sign over? I'm just curious. That dropped and freaked me the hell out. All right. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Ian. That was cool. Yeah, I had an initial follow-up question, but I forgot what it was with the ghost. Apologize.
Well, I have more questions. I could sit here and chat all day. If anyone, any of the attendees, looks like they're starting to file out, but if anyone that's hanging around wants to throw in another question, or if you're willing to like come on with us as a presenter and ask questions, like we're open to that. We're not going to make you. But yeah, otherwise, like I have a lot of thoughts around this for both of these guys. All right, Ian, this is one that I think you and I talked about offline, but I'm curious to address it. I want to hear you address it with the crowd, because where we have a form and when people are opting in, let's say a piece of content, and we have that checkbox that says, "Thanks, Davey." We have that checkbox that says, "I, assent to you processing my information, or I want to join your marketing list." Basically, that opt in. If someone doesn't check that, how do I address that with my boss who wants, like, hey, I see this tier 1 lead that has come into the database. They subscribe to the white paper. Why aren't we reaching out to them? Why aren't they in this particular sequence? Or, why aren't we, sending them to sales or whatever with the sirens blaring? Like, how do you handle that conversation? And is that accurate to say, like, we can't market to a person that has come in through a form, but not submitted to opting in?
Ooh, good question. How I do it is focusing more on customer value and respecting their preferences. Usually in smaller organizations and even some like medium and large ones I've seen where they have product update emails, webinar emails, partner announcements. They have this long list of emails that they're pushing to people. And someone would unsubscribe from that because, like, I just wanted the white paper. You burn them out because you're like, well, here's a product update. I don't use your product. Hey, we're going to be at this event. It's like, that's in another state. Even if I am in that state, like, I'm comfy in my pajamas working from home. I'm not putting on a proper pair of like jeans and sneakers. So I take it as the approach of like, let's respect them and their preferences. So I'm not going to mass email them. If it is, but with that, I think it's a nuanced conversation. And these are the important conversations to have with your sales. This person that came in, they are tier 1 target account. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to you. Yeah. Just please be intentional and reach out. Okay.
Mm.
But if that same person came in with a personal email and they didn't check the box, okay, it's not tier 1. They don't work at an account that's in a target. I'm still going to do that first email after they filled out the form and be like, hey, here's the white paper. Here's some great takeaways. We'd recommend 1, 2, and 3. Just help them in that journey and give them a good welcome email. And if they come back and get more, fantastic. But I'm not going to bombard them with all the emails for webinar, events, product updates, and more.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, it looks like we're down to like just the 4 of us plus a couple of the fellas that are regulars that are here. So we can go ahead and wrap it up as far as the recording goes.
Yeah, let's keep the recording for 1 second though. Curious, Jason, after hearing a lot of the stuff that Ian was talking about, and seeing like all the manual timestamps and manual fields he's creating to have happen, do you think that that's something that like HubSpot would ever maybe start implementing and creating some more of those types of fields just right out of the box?
I have no idea. My honest answer. I think a lot of like everything that you kind of went through is like so far out of my wheelhouse and like where I usually spend my time. Like I have no idea on those teams because a lot of the stuff that I do is back end, like and reporting and data modeling type stuff. So in terms of a lot of like standard, like some, I guess like fields for like standard objects or standard fields or standard objects for some of the stuff to enable some of the stuff that you're doing. I honestly don't know. Like like our team, the team that I work on is primarily focused around how do we make HubSpot more customizable for specifically like for you to like create some of these things on your own versus standardizing things. So if anything, I would say it would probably become more customizable, more like unique to your particular use case functionality to help enable that versus the standard way of doing things, if anything.
Right.
But I'm speaking completely out of my realm though.
Yeah, and maybe to go into your realm, on one of the questions, the things is like telling people like have a data dictionary. Do you and your team have a data catalog? A catalog is usually more automated and a separate tool or something you can build. Do you have a data catalog or do you use a data dictionary or something like that?
For us, so we have the way that we kind of do everything on our end is for every portal we do have like a data, essentially like here's all the objects and here's all the custom objects, here's all of like custom properties, and we can kind of see kind of like the data model from our side when we're kind of like trying to debug things, or also when we're starting to build things. The various teams inside of HubSpot, when they're building out their different experiences, they actually use our tools to build out those new features. And so sometimes they'll create standard objects or standard properties on different things and associations. But yeah, we also do see like your particular data model. Maybe not so much like a data dictionary, but it does have some like definitions around some things that you input when you create stuff inside of HubSpot. I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it does. I just think it goes to a data catalog is something definitely you see in cloud architecture with very large data lakes and warehouses. There's so much data, so many different inputs and variety of data. It can quickly become a mess. And then no doubt us here have seen some of that mess.
Yeah.
For example, I can talk to my sales team. hey, I'm looking for your target accounts. Where are they? Say, oh, it's this checkbox on the company field. Cool. I go look. You have 3 fields, and each one is probably like 5% of my total of all my records. I'm like, which one is it? And it's just not clear, and it becomes such a it all of a sudden it blows up to something larger just because we weren't clear and had a dictionary and universal that we shared.
Yeah, we do have, so inside of HubSpot, there is like the data modeling you can do. I'm not sure if that's on every, I'm still learning on like what portals and like what hubs,
Subscriptions.
what subscriptions, sorry, thanks. Those are all fitting in. But yeah, that's definitely one area that the Ops Hub is really focused on, is more like, how do we like make modeling your data? Because we understand, like we see this all the time where people come in, they set up HubSpot and it's deceptively simple. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can do and it feels simple, but then if you also don't do it right as you grow, you immediately hit a wall. And so there's a lot of discussions around like, how do we give you those happy paths, like smart defaults, and make the setup of it much more clear and guide you down a path that you don't shoot yourself in the foot later on. So that's definitely an area that we're constantly talking about.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna have to talk with you more about that one another time, Jason.
Cool.
I'll grab time. That'd be cool.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Like Brandon had talked about a minute ago for the recording anyway. So for right now, we're going to sign off on the recording, but we'll keep us here for 1 second. So everybody, thanks for attending today. If you were catching this at the end with the replay, appreciate you guys coming through and catching the last minute Q&A. Otherwise, we will see you soon at a future upcoming, whatever you want to say, in person, hopefully, HubSpot user group event in Salt Lake City. Take care.